All right, so welcome to the Master Yoga class, Monday night Master Yoga class. Tonight, we are going to be talking about the seventh chakra. And this has kind of been like a journey because we've been going through each of the chakras, including talking about the different regions of the chakras and what they represent because they're all different and they work together differently. So the seventh chakra is located at the top of the head, the crown of the head. It's called the crown chakra, and it is related to quite a few different tissues in the brain, and including the pineal gland and the cerebral cortex. And we'll cover that a little bit. I'm going to go into some depth about the cerebral cortex. The the cerebral cortex is the outer portion of the brain, the part where it's wrinkled, and it's divided into four sections. You have the frontal lobe, you have the temporal lobe, the occipital lobe, and the parietal lobe, and they're all responsible for processing different types of sensory information. But actually, there's a lot more that this part of the brain does. So the crown chakra is really the brain and all the different processing functions of the brain. It is the head center. It's called the head center. And it's where all of the cortical cerebral functions of the brain take place. And these are primary areas that include your motor skills, sensory, and visual functions. That would include language and attention, perception, awareness, which you can kind of say they all work together, thought, memory, and consciousness itself. So the cerebral cortex is part of the brain that is also the largest site of neural integration of the central nervous system. So that's interesting as well. So you're going to have um, more neural connections taking place in this part of the brain than any other part of the body. Um, it's also, this part of the brain is considered the gray area of the brain, and that is because the nerves in that area lack insulation compared to other parts of the brain. And like I said, it's the area that we see as the wrinkles. And I actually was reading about it, and it said that as we get older, the wrinkles can increase. And they say that the more wrinkles you have, the smarter you are, because the wrinkles increase based on how much information you are bringing in. So that it's like it's storing, the brain is storing that information. This center is the control of also our biorhythms and conscious awareness. I want to talk a little bit about element and the vayus. Remember, the vayus are the energetic forces behind all of our physiology. The vayus are part of the air element, but the reason why the vayus are involved in all parts of the body is because that it's the force behind our physiology. So that's why the vayus are important. And those the energetics of the vayus is all about movement. So which directions are the vayus moving? And we are manipulating those every time we do our yoga practice. So like I told you, some move in, some go from the center and move out, circulate around, some go up, some go down. And so it's interesting about this center, the head center. It's similar to the third eye, and that it does not actually have a vayu. So there is no vayu related to it, and there's also no sense organ related to it. It is working with the ether element, just like the third eye, but the third eye related to the astral body, and this aspect of ether relates to the causal body. And I want to explain what that means, because I could just blurt that out and you'd be like, huh? It doesn't really make any sense. So the causal body is the magnetic aspect of ourselves. It is actually our soul's unique magnetism, which is responsible for our organic harmony with all creation. And the magnetism of the soul is a much deeper level of consciousness. It's beyond the mind, it's beyond the body, and it actually maintains itself and its existence even after we die. So that's that part of us that lives on. It's also the force of love, and it compels us to love all things, all creatures, and life itself. So when we connect to that part of ourselves, we're really able to experience a much more expanded um, existence. And like I said, again, there is no vayu. That means there's no energetic force that is moving through this particular center. And the this chakra, the head chakra, it influences all the functions and structures of the body, right? Because it's our brain center. It's working with the brain center, that gray matter. The physiological functions um, are really all about the brain and that part of the brain functioning of the cerebral cortex. Our psychological functions, this center, it affects the overall individual's perception and self-awareness. So that could be your ego, but it's even beyond that. It's consciousness. It's the ability to witness ourselves. So what is that part of ourselves that can visualize within and see our own behavior and see our own thoughts? It's that part. So it's self-awareness of our thoughts, our feelings, our actions. Limited awareness, though, of the mind is what they would consider a lower self-awareness, and then it just really relates to thoughts and feelings and actions. But as we can increase the flow in this center, self-awareness then expands and increases. And when it does that, it means that we begin to experience ourselves as one with all creatures, with all of life. We have a union that takes place. If there is limited flow in this center, so there's some sort of stagnation or something inhibiting in the area, then a person can become ignorant, completely unaware, and lacking consciousness. As far as spiritually is concerned, like I said, when you increase the flow in this head center, you are connecting your awareness with all creation. And that means that a person then perceives himself as not separate. They are completely merging with all of life, the world and everyone. It's a complete union. And that's something that we're trying to accomplish when we do yoga. Yoga, the word itself, hatha, means sun and moon. And it means union. You're bringing these two aspects together to create a union. It is said that when one reaches this state, when you are able to expand and create that union, then all of our karmas will disappear, will dissolve, and you basically the illusion of the physical body will also dissolve, and you move into what's considered infinite consciousness. So your consciousness is completely beyond this body, this world. It's infinite. It goes on and on and on. And so I guess that it's something that we're all working towards, whether we know it or not. The mantra relating to this center is Om, O-M, or also A-U-M. You'll see it written both ways. And this mantra, it increases the influence of ether element in all aspects of ourselves. So that means physical, subtle, and the causal body. It's very beneficial for all constitutions as long as they are in balance. And it's very similar to the third eye. And that if you are vata vitiated, in other words, if you have an imbalance with vata, then this is not a good mantra for you. It is not good for you. Also, if you have low vital reserves. And if you don't really know what that is, we use the word ojas. Low vital reserves means that you're exhausted all the time. You have nothing left. You have no no gas basically left in your tank. And you need to have plenty. It is said that when you choose to start doing practices, hopefully under the guidance of a teacher, when you start doing these practices that work with the ether element, it is really important that your physical body and your nervous system can handle it. You have to make sure that the container, the physical body that you have, can handle the amount of energy that is going to move through this body when you start doing those types of meditations and practices. Okay, so it is good for kapha and pitta. It will help bring them back into balance because kapha is, stagnant and stuck, and pitta can get that way as well. And so it expands all of that for us. So the practice that we're doing today is using Om, but we are also going to be doing a meditation at the end that is expanding beyond the physical body. So it's a guided meditation, and then that's what we will be doing. And the practice that we are doing is also going to encourage more of this contemplative state of going beyond that lower self and expanding our consciousness beyond the physical body, beyond the mind, and what is it that we're merging with, and maybe even have some connection to that. So that's the plan. And let's go ahead and get started with our practice. Okay,